Fear of the team. How are they feeling following your three consecutive losses?
Well, I think more than anything else, I think they're pretty resilient about things. They know that there are circumstances, situations that we can do better at. I think the biggest thing more so for these guys is really just the way they're approaching this week so far. Came out, had a good practice today. I think they're focused, getting themselves ready, preparing. So I'm not concerned about that.
And speaking to that, how do you look to kind of get out of where it is that you all have? Is it more of a one-game approach, or do you look at the totality of it all?
No, we look at it as a one-game approach. I mean, we've got 12 games left, but you can only play them one at a time, so that's our focus. This week we've done nothing but talk about Atlanta. We haven't looked ahead. We've stayed right where we are, and that's, preparing for these guys.
Sam told us earlier he's got to do a better job of taking care of himself. He's put team in front of his own body. Do you have to counsel him on that?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Chick, more than anything else with him is just understanding, you can't take those kind of hits all the time. You've got to understand, when you can dump the ball and when you got to get down and protect yourself more so than anything else.
The defense said after the game on Thursday, we've got to start faster, start faster. How do you do that?
Be better on third down, and when you come out into a series and you have 2 third downs, that third and double digits, you've got to be able to stop them, and that's something we didn't do a very good job of.
Okay, thanks. You guys have been through some of the tough starts in the last couple of years. We talked the other day. Is there something about this group that gives you more confidence that maybe they can not just to get out of it, but maybe sustain a different level of play?
Well, I think, first of all, the players we have. I think the personnel. I think we're in a good spot there. It's just now a matter of putting it all together. I mean, we feel we've got some pretty good pieces to the puzzle, but now you got to put the puzzle together. You got to make sure everything fits and then go out and do your job. That's probably the biggest thing we've got to do.
And do you get worried about it getting too much of a hole again?
No, because we're only going to play them one at a time. So the only hole you can get in is if things don't go well this week. So we're staying focused on just the fact that we're getting ready for Atlanta.
You opened the practice window for FA. How's he progressing, and what's your kind of sense of where he's at?
He's progressing very nicely. He's been around. He's been in the meetings. He's been out watching the walkthroughs. So his mental take of it is very good. Once they cleared him to start conditioning, he's been doing a great job at that. He really has. So he was out at practice today, moved around very, very well. So we're really pleased.
The defensive line is such an interesting position in that you obviously want your best guys out there as much as you can, but yet there's sometimes maybe as diminishing returns when they're out there an excessive amount of snaps. So obviously he would help. But what is that line for you as a coach and a defensive-minded coach for those linemen of how many snaps they're playing versus, hey, we need them to be as fresh as possible later?
And I think that's a big part of it is not just being fresh to begin with, but you want to be fresh when you get down to the stretch when it comes to crunch time, and that's part of the idea behind this.
Ron, we all noticed the do your job sign going into that locker room. New piece of the locker room. What's the messaging there?
Do your job. That's simple.
Why did you put that? Why do you think that was important?
Because I think looking at the tapes, watching the games, our previous 5 games, looking at some of the stuff that I read, the numbers, there's obviously, to me, there's a sense and a feel that we're not doing the things we need to do. Okay, we're not doing enough of them. We got to do everything that's involved with your job, and that's kind of the emphasis.
As coaches, how do you help players do their job better?
Well, I think a lot of it is just about the way we practice, about the way we prepare, and then going out and playing.
Ron, I know nobody gets more free advice than the head coach and the quarterback, right? I get that. But I wonder how you evaluate where Sam is at this stage and what you're looking at in terms of how he's progressing.
David, I think, first, obviously, there's the analytics. Everybody's got numbers, and everybody wants you to see their numbers. So we've taken numbers that we get from different sources, and we take the numbers we get from our people, and we break them down and look at them, compare them, and based on what we're looking at, we feel pretty good about Sam's development and growth. Obviously he's played some really, really good games, and he's had a couple of downers. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of categories where he is in the top 10. And two of them that are very unfortunate has been the turnovers and the sacks. And that's something we have to, as a unit, collectively reduce. And I think everybody is culpable in that situation, whether it be on the offensive side or coaching. I mean, we all have to take a share in that. But for his growth and development, a lot of things point in the right direction for us. I think the big thing for us now, and I said it a little earlier, is, we feel really good about the pieces. Now we just got to make sure we put the puzzle together and, make sure everything fits. And that's what we have to do. We've got to play better in some areas that, we've looked at and talked about.
That position is, you can't just bench him. There's a million things that happen when you bench the starting quarterback. So how do you, at the one hand, let him develop, but understand also that you have to try to win the game you're playing that day?
Right. And so far for us, we have felt that in a couple of games that got away from us, we felt keeping him out there is a good opportunity for him to learn and grow. And that was, done in conversation with Eric and how he felt about it. And, just thinking that every opportunity for him to get a snap is growth for us. And so that's kind of how we've looked at it. But to your point, there may be a time when it gets like that. But right now, it's about his growth and development. We want to win everything we do, every game we play, and that is obviously the goal.
If you look at the 22 draft class, that was a group at the time that kind of had some question marks. Now I think 4 guys are starting from that. Has your opinion on that change, or of that class, kind of changed as they've gotten actual experience under their belt? And what have you kind of just made of, because you guys are playing Ritter as well?
He's back. I thought you left.
This is my last day.
Oh, okay.
So,
I think the truth of the matter is, looking at any group after a year is way too early to draw a conclusion. I really do mean that. I mean, it's funny how, and again, I said this, a previous press conference, that's, back in my day, there was no rush and hurry to force guys out on the field. There was this growth and development period where, guys took a little bit of time. I mean, and some people still do that. Some people still think that way before they throw guys to the wolves. And sometimes you feel that's what happens when you got to put young guys on the field. But, to me, it's kind of rash if you look at it that way and start judging it based off of limited opportunities or time.
and just going back to the sign real quick, I don't mean this to be like flippant or whatever, but like, can an actual sign have a tangible effect, or seeing that? Like, some people will just kind of look at that and say, oh, that's silly, or that's, is it hard not to take the cynical route with it, I guess is.
For a certain type of person, yeah.
Sure.
But to me, I mean, you look at it and it's the obvious, and I'm stating the obvious. I mean, that's the truth of it. That's what we're paid for, is to do our job, to do it the best of our ability. And, we talked about that on Tuesday morning, and I was very blunt about it. And I just think that, we have to buck up. We got to look at ourselves in the mirror and ask. And, I think that's important.
For Emmanuel, I know we've asked you a lot about him in recent weeks, but will his status or typical workload change at all this week based on the last couple of weeks, or do you want to see him continue to work through
We'll
some
see.
things?
I mean, how he handles this situation and circumstances is important for him. It's important for us to see and see how he handles a lot of things. So we'll continue to work. He'll work, as will the rest of the DBs, and we'll see how things go.
How did he look in practice today, I guess?
He looked good. There were some things obviously that you could see he was really focusing on. You could see the work during the individual drills. A couple things that he did off to the side with one of the coaches. And then on the actual practice field, when he got his opportunities, there were some things that you could see he was focusing on.
Sam said he's always going to run the offense as designed. To get the ball to your playmakers more, especially Jahan, Terry, Curtis, is that something that you'd like to see him focus on a little more, or is that something you have to scheme up? I guess, how do you get the ball to them more?
Well, I think a big part of it is how the offense is schemed, how each play has a progression, and where he starts the progression is based on what he initially reads. To get the ball to specific guys, you can scheme up most certainly, and I know that's some of the things that Eric does, and I think that it's just a matter of, again, decisions that Sam makes during those progressions.
Is that something you talked to EB and or Sam about over the long weekend, or is that you just trust it'll work out?
No, it's a conversation that you do have because, again, when you're looking at the numbers and you're talking about, you know, the impact that each guy has and their ability to have a big impact, you know, that, hey, what can we do? How can we do it? What can we do better? You know, those are conversations that were had.
When you guys have gone on win streaks in the past, you've talked about playing complementary football.
Yes.
It's clearly not happening now. How do you get that back on track?
Having the side that's not playing well play better and focus on the things that they haven't done well. You know, I can remember last year some of the things that we went through. You know, we asked, hey, we got to do a little bit more of this, was focus on taking care of that. This year we looked at a bunch of things and thought, you know, these are some of the things that we got to be better at. And so we're working on those things.
And when you look at kind of the run-pass discrepancy offensively, do you look at that lack of complementary football?
Part of it has a lot to do, and again, in talking with Eric, it's really about how the games have gone, the flow of the game. You know, we've had a couple of games where the flow has been really good. You see a little bit more balance. You know, and again, it comes to exactly what you said. If you're playing complementary football in all phases, you know, the game is in a better scoring situation, as opposed to being down by a couple and trying to catch up.
All right, thanks, Coach. All right. Thanks, Ron.